Good day and welcome to our webinar, Networking at the National Postal Forum. We're less than a week away from the NPF and I appreciate you taking the time to participate. My name is Mark Fallon and I'll be your presenter today. I'm president of the Berkshire Company, an independent management consulting firm that specializes in the print and mail industry. I will also be one of the presenters at the National Postal Forum in Nashville this year, and we'll cover that in one of the future slides. During this call, all participants are muted. If you have a question, please type it in the chat dialog box on the right-hand side of your screen. Whenever possible, I will stop and provide an answer during the webinar. Also, we will leave plenty of time at the end of the webinar for additional questions. So today's webinar, we're going to cover a lot of different topics. And at the end of the session, you should be able to answer the following questions. What is networking? Why is networking important to you? Who can network? Where do you network while you're at the National Postal Forum? And also, how do you network while you're at the National Postal Forum? I'll even include a checklist for you to put into your packing list as you head down to Nashville later this week. So first, when we talk about what is networking, we'll begin with the basics. And the first place I went to is dictionary.com. Of course, for those of us my age, we know we used to go to a bookshelf and get a dictionary, but now we go online. And dictionary.com says that a network is something resembling an open fabric or structure. Specifically, they give three different choices. The first is a network is a system of lines or channels that cross or interconnect, like a network of railroads. The second is a complex, interconnected group or system. For those of us on this call, I think the first thing that would come to mind is the U.S. Postal System's network. And the last definition, and the one that we're most going to concentrate on today, is a network is an extended group of people with similar interests or concerns who interact and remain in informal contact for mutual assistance or support. And the last part of that is so important. We interact and remain in informal contact for mutual assistance and support. Networking is not about what you can get for yourself. Networking is about what you can do for others. Harvey Mackay, for those of you who don't recognize the name, Harvey Mackay wrote a book back in the 90s called Swim with the Sharks Without Being Eaten Alive, and he followed that up with another book called Dig Your Well Before You're Thirsty. And of all the sales gurus out there, I like to go to Harvey because he came from our industry. He was the president of Mackay Envelope. And Harvey wrote, for most people, networking is learned behavior, like learning to swim. It is gradual and often painful, even scary process of trial and error, small incremental steps, and finally a few breakthroughs. So it's a continual process. Networking is not you sit down on a plane and you look next to you and, oh my gosh, it's Bill Gates. And you talk to him, and by the time you land at your final destination, he's writing you a check for $1 million. That's not networking. That's a dream. It's a dream many of us have, especially those of us who travel a lot. But I flew 100,000 miles last year, and Bill Gates was never next to me, probably because he has a private plane. So remember, networking is learned behavior, and it's a continual process. And I like to add to that definition and say that networking is the one self-improvement activity that anyone can do, regardless of age, education, or talent. And as I said before, successful networking is about what you can do for others and not about what others can do for you. So why do you want to network? The first thing that's most important to a lot of people who are coming to NPF is our first line. Everyone lives by selling something. This is actually a quote from Robert Louis Stevenson, who was an author. Many years ago, he wrote Treasure Island. A lot of you may remember that book growing up. And when you think about selling something, it doesn't mean you're just in sales, although we do have salespeople on the call today. You may be selling yourself. In other words, you may be interviewing for a job. You may be selling an idea to your boss. You go down to the Postal Forum, you see some software or equipment that you think could help your shop, and now you have to sell that idea to your boss. Or you may have to sell that idea to your employees. You learn about a new method of processing mail, and you want to integrate that at your company. Well, you can't just do it. You have to sell the idea. And where networking comes in is it allows you to get resources to help you. The resources that will connect you to other people who have the information you need to sell this idea. And although the NPF is an educational conference, education, training, and talent will only take you so far. It's the reverse. It's not what you know, it is who you know. You may know a lot. You may be the smartest person down at the National Postal Forum, but a group of people together, the thousands of people that are going to be there, combined know more than you. And while you're at the NPF, you may want to meet a specific person. Let's say the Postmaster General, Megan Brennan. You don't know who knows who and can make that connection for you. Networking brings you into other people's networks. Some of you may have heard of the concept, the 6 degrees of separation. That was founded back in 1967 by a gentleman named Stanley Milgram. And what he did is he gave several hundred people in Omaha, Nebraska a letter. And only by mailing it to somebody they knew, they had to find a way of getting that letter to a stockbroker in Sharon, Massachusetts. Remember, this is 1967, pre-internet. How do they do that? And through this exercise, Mr. Milgram was able to prove that the entire world's population is connected by only 6 degrees. So think about that. When you want to connect to somebody, who do you know that might be in their network or might be in their network's network? And whether you're a vendor with a booth, an industry attendee, you don't know who's looking for you. There may be somebody out there right now who's looking for somebody with your talent, your knowledge, your product, or your service. But if they can't find you through their network, they probably won't. So you need to be out there so that people can find you. My last job in corporate America was never published in a newspaper, never put on monster.com. What it was a consultant had been hired by State Street in Boston to renovate their mail operation, re-engineer it, reorganize it, and to find a new leader. If I wasn't in that consultant's network, I never would have gotten the call for the job interview. So you need to be out there so that other people can find you. And the last part is, remember, people are interesting just as people, but only if you get to know them. Networking isn't just about business. Networking is about human beings connecting on a human level. Who knows? You might just meet somebody you like as a fellow human being. So one of the first things they teach you when you take a class on public speaking is never to read directly from a slide. And the one exception to that is when the concept may be a little complicated. So this is a complicated slide because it answers the question, who can network? So let's start at the top. Anyone can network. Absolutely anyone can network. There's a theme here if you're following. Networking is something that anyone and everyone can learn. And networking is something that anyone and everyone must learn. There's no excuse for not networking. If you aren't comfortable talking to people you don't know, then you must get outside your comfort zone. To be honest, and I've taken a test to prove this, I'm actually an introvert. I would rather spend a day reading a book more than anything else. My favorite place in my house is my comfortable chair. It's got a little table on it for a cup of coffee and a book. That's where I love. But if I just sit in that chair and just read books, I am not going to be successful in business. And even more importantly, I'm not going to be successful in life. I need people in my life to be successful. So I need to meet people, talk to people, and network people. And sometimes people say you make it look easy, but that's only because I work at it. And I had a great example growing up. This is a picture of me with my late father. And my dad was one of the greatest networkers I've ever met. Growing up, it seemed that everyone I met in my town knew who my father was and knew my family. Of course, the fact that my father had 10 kids did set him apart from a lot of other people. But he also joined groups and clubs. He was very active in the American Legion, the Veterans of Foreign Wars, and even a local men's club. He was a postal clerk, and back then, the postal clerks had their own union, the mail handlers had their own union, the letter carriers had their own union. So he made sure he networked with the mail handlers and with the letter carriers. In fact, he got to know the letter carriers so well, he was the only person outside their union who was invited to their Christmas party. In fact, 25 years after he retired, he was still getting that invitation. And for my postal people out there, you know that even postmasters aren't invited to the carrier's Christmas party. When my dad was about 60, he joined the local Knights of Columbus, something that normally is for men in their 20s and their 30s. And when I asked him why, he said he had always thought about joining but didn't really have the time. And now that we were all older, he would have that time. And he also said, when he looked around the last wake he had went to, he saw that a lot of his friends were very old and were starting to die off, and he wanted to make sure that there were plenty of people around to attend his funeral. This is a true story, and if you know Irishmen from Boston, you know it's true. Well, when he did pass away 3 years ago, I can tell you, there wasn't an empty church, and the Knights were there in full splendor. So why did he have this thought that though he's just a postal clerk, that he could network with anyone? And I think it had to do with that he knew his identity. So I would like you all to take this little exercise with me. And it's important that you be completely honest. You're by yourself, probably in front of a computer screen, so nobody's going to see you. And don't worry, I'm not going to ask anyone to share their answers. So you see this picture of an island. And what I'd like you to do is give me permission to take you to this island for 15 minutes. So this island has perfect temperature, whatever perfect means for you, whether that's 65 degrees, 75 degrees, 80 degrees, whatever you like to be a perfect temperature, this island has you. It has plenty of sunshine, and as you can see, it also has trees for some shade. Very helpful if you're sensitive to sunlight like I am. And what I'm going to do is leave you alone on this island for 15 minutes. Now we can see the mainland. You're not going to be stuck like Gilligan forever. We're just going to ask you to stay on this island alone for 15 minutes. And during these 15 minutes, you have to leave all of your roles behind. So by a role, I mean you're not a father or a mother, you're not a son or a daughter, sister or brother. None of those roles apply for the next 15 minutes. I'm also going to ask you to leave behind your business roles. You're not a manager, a salesperson, a clerk, a messenger, whatever that is, you're going to leave that behind for 15 minutes. You're even going to leave behind the other things that you do, whether you're a golfer, a runner, a fisherman, whatever else it is. You're going to leave those roles behind for 15 minutes. Don't worry, you're going to get them all back, but for 15 minutes, I want you to leave all of that behind. Got it? So now I want you to take a moment, and in the upper left-hand corner, you can see a circle with an eye below it. So now that you've left all of your roles behind, I want you to rate what's left. In that circle, I'd like you to think, rate yourself on a scale of 0 to 10 on what you're worth without your roles behind. What value does it have? So 0 means without your roles in life, father, mother, manager, salesperson, without those roles, what's left behind has no value. Up to a 10, that when you leave those roles behind, you have great value. And we're going to do something scary. We're going to be quiet for 30 seconds and think about that. And write down your answer. And we're going to start now. So as I said, I'm not going to make you tell your answer. I'm going to tell you what your answer should be. Everybody on this webinar is a 10. What you wrote down is your self-identity. That's what the I is for. And it's basically your concept of self and a reflection of your self-esteem. If you put down anything less than a 10, it may be because somebody has told you you were, and you bought it. Someone may have said when you were younger, you went to kindergarten and the teacher came back and said you're average. Well, you're an average student, not an average you. Think about this. You are the only you that has ever existed. 4 billion years of this planet being around, 14 billion years of the universe being around, and you are the only you that has ever been around. And you have to realize you are different from everyone else, and you are unique and perfect as yourself. Now, that doesn't mean you're necessarily perfect in your roles, but you have to start believing you're perfect in yourself. And when you do that, you can increase where your R is. You can be a better parent. You can be a better son or daughter. You can be a better salesperson. You can be a better manager when you first believe in your own self-worth. And when you do that, we recognize that, and we want to meet that person. We aren't as concerned about your roles. We want to know who you are. And I want to meet the 10 that is you. And the only way we can do that is if we network. So now that we have the basics down about networking, let's get to the specifics about networking at the National Postal Forum. The folks at the NPF have put together a schedule of a lot of events to help maximize your opportunities for networking. And it starts on Saturday morning. The NPF is holding a charity golf outing at the Gaylord Springs Golf Links. This is a great way to meet people, well, especially if you're a bad golfer like me, because I end up in the wrong fairway and I get to introduce myself and hopefully didn't hit the other person's ball. And the great part about this tournament, and I have participated in the past, is that very few attendees take it seriously. People are there to enjoy the nice weather, have some fun, and meet others. It's a great place to network. If golf isn't your thing, on Saturday, the Habitat for Humanity of Greater Nashville and the National Postal Forum and us, the Berkshire Company, are teaming up for another event. The NPF will assign its first 20 volunteers to help construct a single-family home in Nashville and give a helping hand to a local, hardworking family in need. There's no experience needed for this, but again, it's a great opportunity to meet new people, and at the same time, you're giving something back to the community. Of course, for many people, the best place in the networking opportunities, whether you're an industry attendee, postal service employee, or a vendor, is the exhibit hall. And as they always do, the Postal Forum has set aside exclusive exhibit hall time on Monday morning, as well as the lunches on Monday and Tuesday are held right in the exhibit hall. On Tuesday evening, there will be a special exhibitors reception that also will be held in the hall. So this is a great place to meet new people. But the exhibit hall can be really overwhelming, especially if you're a first-time attendee. So what I'd like to do is talk about the vendors and the attendees. And let's start with the attendees. There are over 120 vendors with booths. So just as you needed a plan for the overall conference, you need a plan for the exhibit hall. And a good plan will include set times to be in the hall. So you make sure you're dedicating enough of your time during the conference to get into the exhibit hall and get around. Before the show, mark down in your calendar or your personal planner, if you're using that app on npf.org, mark down the times that you're going to be in the hall. And then map out your route through the hall. Use the map provided by the NPF and familiarize yourself where the vendors you want to talk to are located. Plan how you'll navigate through the aisles and the booths to get to where you need to go. Make sure you set appointments with key vendors. If you're attending the show hoping to check out specific equipment or get detailed explanation about software or service, reach out to the vendors beforehand. Establish an exact time when you will be at their booth. This will allow the vendor to make sure that the right person is available to answer your questions. And also, seek out new vendors. Trade shows are about education, including education about vendors. Stop and talk to at least 3 vendors you don't do business with today. So that's 1 new vendor each day. Learn what they're doing and what they plan on doing. In fact, to learn even more, pick out 3 vendors that you have no idea what they do. The vendors are there to meet you. They want to meet you, but you have to go first to make that happen. No need to walk through the exhibit hall alone. Ask someone from your company, your local PCC, or even maybe somebody you just met in class to walk with you. It's much less intimidating that way. And it's a big hall. You'll be walking a lot. Wear the appropriate footwear. It does make a difference, especially at the end of a long day. Now for the vendors, the trade shows are tremendous opportunities to reconnect with existing clients and meet new prospects. There's a need to approach the trade show like a well-managed sales call. So first, make sure that you and the booth look first class. No typeless, spotless color one-sheets and business cards are at the ready. Who's ever working the booth should have clean, well-pressed clothes. I know a lot of vendors choose to wear logo shirts or costumes or whatever, but they still need to be clean and pressed every morning. You should have a huddle at the beginning and the end of each day. At the beginning of the day, reconfirm the booth schedule and confirm any planned customer or prospect appointments. At the end of the day, go over the highlights and note what could have been done better and how you're going to improve tomorrow. If there's a particularly hot issue or hot prospect, whether that's positive or negative, make sure you bring it up and do something immediately. While you're at your booth, reach out to passerbys. Don't wait for people to come up to you. Go up to them. Many people are shy and introverted, and they won't initiate the conversation. So politely ask for a few moments of their time. And even if they aren't an immediate prospect, you don't know where they'll be tomorrow. Treat everyone as though they'll be your next sale. In the early 1990s, I was working for a company that was processing 10,000 pieces a week. Small prospect. But I loved the large sorting equipment. Again, growing up the son of a postal worker, that always impressed me. The sorting folks in many of the companies gave me the time and explained to me the process. And you know what happened? In 1997, I went to work for State Street, where I was processing 100,000 pieces a day. Guess what I needed to buy? A sorter. And those same people who were polite to me before, I went right back to. And it may seem obvious, but make sure with business cards you have them on hand and you're giving and getting them. While the NPF will probably have badge scanners, that's great. Try to collect cards as well. You can make notes on those cards and get back to that person about the conversation that you had. And don't forget to talk with your neighbor. What do they sell? Where are they from? Do they know what your company does? Do they potentially have clients that need your product or service? Remember from our first slide, you don't know who knows who. Join their network. And lastly, I'm very big on this, no eating or drinking in the booth. Maybe water, maybe coffee, but even that should be limited. No prospect wants to have a conversation with someone who has food in their mouth. There's time for that later. Another great spot to meet people are the area receptions. On Sunday evening, the U.S. Postal Service receptions are held in one of the larger halls, and each area will have a section of the hall designated for them. First, go to your area, whether you're a vendor or an attendee. Say hi to the folks from your local PCC, local district, and local area. Are there people from your hometown that you might not even have met yet? If you're not going up alone, ask someone to introduce you. Also, this is a tremendous opportunity to meet the postal executives from your area. They are here to meet you. If you don't know them, introduce yourself. They want to know you. You may have a complaint or a service issue. This isn't the time to get that solved, but it is a time to find out where will that executive be on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. Find a good time to meet with them. When you're in line to get a beverage or get some food, talk to the people around them. You don't have to have anything profound to say. Simply, hi, how are you? Or, isn't the Gaylord beautiful? The conversation will either continue naturally or it won't. Either way, the line is short. Don't worry about it. If you're adventurous, or if you do business in more than one part of the country, take time to visit the other areas. One of the best parts of my job is the travel I get to do. The area receptions is the one night when I can visit so many parts of the country without spending hours on a plane. Something I love about our current Postmaster General is that she is a networker. Hopefully you recognize her in this picture. You can be sure that Postmaster General Brennan will be making the rounds on Sunday evening. She knows how important customers are and takes the time to say hi and even pose with your group. Don't miss out. And then she'll even take a photo with a consultant. That's me with the PMG at the closing event in Anaheim last year. There are planned events, social events by the forum, and there are vendor events, and there may even be small group events with your friends. There's a lot to do every night, and it's wonderful to be able to spend time with the folks you like and laugh and just enjoy yourself. Sometimes you may be invited to more than one event that's taking place at the same time. So how do you choose? Well, this is a lot like choosing courses, but a lot more fun. First, look at your overall schedule. Which events fit into your schedule? You have classes, exhibit hall, meetings, look at the big picture. Then look at whether or not this is a good networking opportunity. Not just the most number of people, but who are the people? Could an event allow you to spend time with someone you've wanted the chance to talk to? Or is this a chance to meet people you don't know? Both come into play here. Also, there are social duties. We all have responsibilities that we must fulfill. It might be clients, vendors, industry executives. We need to take that into consideration. Or is somebody offering a unique event? Is this event taking place at a location you've never had the chance to visit before? For example, a few years ago, the National Postal Forum was in Washington, D.C., and I was invited to a private event at the National Postal Museum. Now, that's a perfect night for a mail geek like me, so consider that as well. And then lastly, what will be fun? Remember, we're doing a lot of work next week at the forum, so you should consider this as well. We only have a certain number of hours in the day, even fewer hours in the evening, so take some time to enjoy yourself. So of course I believe in the importance of attending classes, but it's not just for the information being shared by the instructor. Classes are a great opportunity to network. The first opportunity to network is before the class starts. Take a moment to say hi to the person next to you. Ask how the NPF is going for them. Ask if they've ever heard this speaker before. As with social events, it doesn't have to be a long conversation, just an introduction. After the class, you may want to ask that person what they thought or where they're going next. If the conversation goes well, ask for their business card so that you can follow up. And then you may want to talk to the instructors before and after class. I love the opportunity to meet the people who come to my classes at Forum. When reviewing the names of people who signed up for this webinar, I smiled as I recognized names from previous NPFs, and I look forward to seeing you again in Nashville. Don't forget to give a business card and get a business card. If you do want to attend any of my classes, I'm teaching 5 classes this year. Some it's part of a panel. So this is here for you, period 1, a brand new class with Sean Joyce. You don't need to be a supervisor. Period 6, quality control. Some of you have attended that one before. On Monday and Tuesday are parts 1 and 2 of Boot Camp for Mail Center Managers. Also on Sunday, I'm going to be helping Sean with the orientation class. And lastly, on Wednesday morning, I'm on the panel with the PCC Boot Camp education session. So opportunities, I'd love the chance to meet you in person, and these are places where I definitely will be. Basically at the NPF, everywhere you go is a networking opportunity. And we're lucky to work in a very supportive and sharing industry. I've attended over 30 National Postal Forums, and at every one, the greatest impact has come from the people I've met and the network that it's helped me build. And that leads to what some of you have really been looking for is, how do I network at the NPF? So I'd like to share some 6 tips, the top 6, to help you really take advantage of networking. The first one is display a positive attitude. People like to meet upbeat people. If you display an attitude of confidence and resolve, people will be drawn to that. Now, confidence and resolve, not egotism and stubbornness. Think about that. When you walk into a group, whether it's a party or whatever, people are generally congregated around those people that are smiling. So have a smile. Be happy to be there. And when you are talking to people, look them in the eye when you're speaking to them. And more importantly, when they're speaking to you, give them visual signals that you're listening to what they're saying. When talking for someone, look for the ways that you're similar, not different. For example, everyone here has something in common. We all work in mail. No matter what you do, you work in mail. So pick up on what that person says and relate directly or indirectly to you. Many years ago, I met Rod Waltz of Waltz Mailing Solutions. For those of you who don't know him, Rod invented one of the first automated certified mailers, and you may have seen him at the National Postal Forum before. Ron told me that to be remembered, be interested, not interesting. Don't try to impress people with what you know. Find out what they know. Find out about their achievements. Find out about why they're a 10. Let them have the spotlight and show an interest in what they're talking about. And your mother was right. Politeness counts. Show respect to the people you're talking to. Don't use off-color language or tell risque jokes. Don't put down other people, whether it's an individual person, race, religion, or nationality. This is not political correctness. This is politeness. You don't know this person you're just meeting, and you don't know how you might offend them. And if you hear gossip, please don't repeat it. And remember that meeting people is only the first step in networking. You must cultivate the garden that's your network in order for it to grow. Follow up with emails or follow up with a LinkedIn connection. Or maybe, and this is going to sound drastic, send a letter to somebody after meeting them. Wouldn't that be amazing? Going through your contact list on a regular basis, making a phone call, sending an email to someone you might not have heard of, sending a birthday card, or just a note for no particular reason. Remember that very first definition, remain in informal contact. Just sending a note, sending a letter, sending a card, you might be the reason for brightening that person's day. So when you're getting ready for the NPF, and if you've been to my class on quality control before, you know that I'm a big fan of checklists. So here's a special checklist for you when you're preparing to network at the NPF. Number one, everyone should have business cards. Now, if your company doesn't provide them for you, you need to get your own. And you might have to make it personal depending upon your company's rule, because having a non-approved card could get you in trouble. So first, obtain a personal email address. It may be through your internet provider or a cloud service like Hotmail or Gmail. And then design a card. Make it very simple. Your name, potentially your physical address, and your email address. That's all you need. And there are templates online and built into most word processing programs as well. And then print to order cards. At most office supply stores, they sell blank business cards that can be fed through inkjet printers and laser printers. Avery is the most common one you're going to find. For a minimal investment, you could even have cards printed for you, either at a local printer or through one of the many online services. Make sure you bring extra cards. Sure, you may have to pack them up at the end of the trip, but better too many than to run out. Every time you head out of your room, whether it's to the exhibit hall, to classes, or to social events in the evening, make sure you carry your business cards. And remember, you don't have to go it alone. Attach yourself to somebody who's already a good networker. Hang with them as they work the room, because they're going to help you meet new people. My very first forum, I was only a few years out of the military, and I was following a very strict schedule. Wake up at 5, go for a run, go down, have breakfast, go to classes. I was probably in the front row or the second row taking notes, go to dinner, and then go back to my room. That's what I did for 3 straight days. On the last day, somebody asked me if I was going to the social event. I didn't know what they were talking about, and that person took pity on me and said, come with me. And they introduced me to a group of people, and amongst that group was Paul Belbastro. Paul is one of those folks that can walk into any room, in any industry, in any part of the world, and walk out with 3 new friends. He's a master networker. He's open, gregarious, very comfortable in himself. And Paul became my friend, and Paul allowed me to basically shadow him. He would tell me, come on with me, and he would bring me to places and bring me to different PCC groups and introduce me to folks. And through him, I was able to build up my confidence. And the more confidence I had, the easier it was to then go do it myself. So find a Paul. There's a lot of them at the Postal Forum. Don't forget, it's okay to practice. Harvey Mackay said this is learned behavior, like learning to swim. So before you walk into an event, remind yourself you're going to network. Prepare yourself for going up to people and introducing yourself. Get comfortable with it. That's a good thing. When I attend events for speakers and you give them the opportunity, trust me, they want to talk to you. It can be very intimidating. So before I walk in, I check for my business card, I check for how I'm going to introduce myself, and walk in ready and prepared. And don't forget that listening is good. If you're by nature a quiet person, that's okay. As I said earlier, be interested, not interesting. People love to hear the sound of their own voice, and people love to have an audience. And if you can be their audience, they will thank you for it, and they will remember you for it. So don't forget, it's good to listen. And lastly, remember that you are the only you and the best you that's out there. I want to meet you. The other people that are on this webinar want to network with you. And we can't wait to see you at the National Postal Forum in Nashville. Are there any questions? And you can put them into the chat box. And we don't see any questions. Well, I want to thank all of you for taking the time to attend this webinar. I'll be sending out an email with the handouts and hopefully a link to the recording if that all works correctly. And most importantly, I really look forward to meeting you at the National Postal Forum in Nashville. Thank you and have a great day.